Let's go make a killing.
All right.
Welcome to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
10 to the 5 to the 4, play one, touchdown!
The sharpest football contest show in the land.
I'll take the action. My Birds, Benjamin Franklin's team, favored by 1.5 points. I'll give you 3 more.
You're now riding shotgun with 2 former contest winners in Brady Kannon and James Salinas. And getting a former player's perspective with 9-year NFL veteran Mike Pritchard.
Let's go!
As they guide you through strategy, process, and your contest picks each and every week of the season.
I do like the idea of a parlay.
Now here's your host, Brady Kannon.
Welcome in, everybody, and welcome back. It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. I am Brady Kannon, along with James Salinas and Mike Pritchard. It is episode number 4, week 2 of the NFL 2024 season. And gentlemen, welcome back to the program. Let's first go over some of the results from week 1. What we saw here, we got off to a pretty good start in the SuperContest. The consensus top 5 picks went 2 and 3. In the Circa Millions, the consensus 5 went 1 and 4. And then in Circa Survivor, 4,895 entries, out with the Cincinnati Bengals losing to the New England Patriots. In total, 5,564 entries were eliminated in week 1. We have 8,702 entries remaining as we move on here in Circa Survivor. How we did the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, we went 3 and 2 in both the Circa Sports Million and the Westgate Super Contest. We, of course, were one of those 4,800, almost 5,000 that lost with the Bengals. We are down to 2 entries. Our Circa Survivor entry number 2 won with the Seahawks, and entry number 3 won with the Buccaneers. And then finally, our Dom DeMarco's Pizza Money prop play of the week, Kirk Cousins passing yards under 243.5. We crushed it. He only had 155. So off to a good start, guys. Let's do more of the same here this week. And James, I will start with you. Let's get right into it. What are a couple of the games that are rattling around in your head this week?
Brady and Pritch, thinking about games where, you know me, I really like to bet against human achievement. So that pizza prop play coming in, I'm going to talk about a game where I think there's going to be a lot of underachieving offensive passing yards, rushing yards, you name it, in this game that I really want to touch on. And I think this game is really interesting. From the look-ahead line, thinking about where the Packers were before the season started with this Week 2 matchup hosting the Indianapolis Colts to where that number is now. I think the look-ahead was right around 5 points during the offseason, and now we roll into this game with the Colts coming in as a 3-point favorite in the Westgate Super Contest and a 2.5-point favorite in the Circa Millions contest. So we'll get to talking about numbers and the advantages of having a half point in your pocket, especially if you're on the dog side. But I think this game is really interesting from the standpoint that what are we going to see out of the Green Bay Packers? We know that Malik Willis has been there just for a few weeks. He's been studying overnight. He's doing what I did in college, guys, just cramming for those finals and those tests, procrastinating. Not to his degree that he was procrastinating, but just hasn't had a lot of time to get acclimated with the playbook, get acclimated with the teams, nor does he really throw the football all that well. And I think we can say the same thing on the other side with the Colts. Now, I think with the Colts and Anthony Richardson, absolutely. The guy's got a cannon. He's got an Uncle Rico arm, right? He can throw it over the stadium, over the mountains. He can get it wherever it needs to go. He threw a phenomenal pass last week for a touchdown against the Texans. But overall, his accuracy is in question. And I think in this game here, both teams are going to need to run the football. And when I was looking through at the time of this taping, we have the Friday practice report that has come out here. And looking at that practice report, I think there are some key injuries. You know, the big injury for Green Bay is Jordan Love's not going to be there. And hence that's where this number is turned and flipped on its head to a 3-point underdog for Green Bay at home. But I also think here, the other side, there's a lot of times where beyond quarterbacks, we don't see a lot of movement to the number based on injuries. But for me as a handicapper, fellas, and that's why we wanted to touch on this game first, there are some significant injuries to the Colts side, in particular on the defensive side, that I think are going to impact this game. Colts defensively, not a great defense to begin with. I think at the line of scrimmage, that's where their strength is going to be guys like DeForest Buckner, Kwity Paye. Those are two big studs there on that defensive line for the Colts. At this time here, DeForest Buckner did not practice all week with a back injury, so no practice Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. He is questionable going in to this matchup on Sunday, as is Kwity Paye. Now, he did have a limited practice on Friday, but was a no-show in practice on both Wednesday and Thursday. Couple of the fact that they lost their starting quarterback, Juju Brents, he is out. He's a very physical corner in the run game. And their box safety, Julian Blackmon, he is also going to be out for this game. He had 13 tackles last week against the Texans, and he really found himself last year more of as an 8-man box type of safety. So I think those are big injuries that have been sustained on the defensive side. Doesn't affect the line, Pritch, but I think it really impacts my handicap for this game. And getting +3 with the Packers, yeah, they're going to be offensively challenged, but I really like the Packers +3 in this matchup.
No, I like that analysis right there, James, because a lot of people will focus on the quarterback situation, right? We got two young quarterbacks. AR is going to be on the road in a tough environment. I played up there in Lambeau. It's incredible. And this is their home opener. So I like the analysis. Josh Jacobs is up there for a reason, too. Keep it simple, Green Bay. Run the football, pound the rock against that depleted defense. You know, I want to turn to a game, a marquee game, I think it is. And that's Kansas City at home against Cincinnati. And the reason why is because there's so much optimism and everybody wants to crown Cincinnati and Joe Burrow, right? And we know a few years ago they went into Kansas City and got the job done, went to a Super Bowl, almost won a championship. But we know this for a fact, and I want to convey this, that Kansas City, they understand that the road to the Super Bowl goes through Arrowhead. That's their mantra. And now they got Cincinnati coming into their house. And Cincinnati does not know what they're in for. I think this team, when you break down the Kansas City Chiefs and what they're about offensively, it's explosiveness. I mean, they had 21 first downs against one of the better defenses in the league when they played Baltimore on only 50 plays. 50 plays offensively, and you had 21 first downs. They put up 27 points, as we know as well. Efficiency in the red zone, not where it needs to be, but I think it will improve. They'll implement Travis Kelce a little bit more as well, but they're explosive all across the board. But defensively is where the Chiefs will certainly have their success and a legitimate chance to three-peat, if you ask me. And I don't think Cincinnati's clicking on all cylinders right now, too. I know T. Higgins with the injury. You got Jamar Chase, who's late into camp and certainly has to get acclimated to the field again. And then the running back position is just not what it used to be with Mixon. Years ago, that core of Burrow, Mixon, Higgins, and Chase, they broke records, and that's why they led themselves to a Super Bowl. But now it's completely different, and I think Burrow, as we know, is already banged up too. So they got issues on that offensive line. Chris Jones is a game wrecker. And if you look at the line in the contest, -5.5 at home, certainly for the Chiefs, I'm all about that action right there.
Yeah, guys, first, as far as the Green Bay Packers, James, that was one of the first games that jumped out at me all week. I made the number 6 with Jordan Love. And so this is essentially, in my eyes, a 9-point swing. And I think that is way too much. This Green Bay Packers team will come out firing. The fallen hero theory. We know that this team will be ready to play at home at Lambeau. I don't think the Colts are a great team. And I think the Packers can certainly win this one outright. We'll gladly take the 3 points. As far as the Kansas City Chiefs, they come off of extra rest here. Maybe the most rest in the NFL other than the Baltimore Ravens. And we know about Andy Reid off of a bye, right? Well, this is a little bit of a mini bye, and it's possible that the Cincinnati Bengals could be a disaster this year. We'll see if they bounce back. They have played well in Arrowhead before, as you allude to, Mike, but we will see. I have more faith in Kansas City with extra rest. One more game I want to talk about before we get to the break here, and that is the Washington Commanders coming off of a loss hosting the New York Giants. And the Giants just looked absolutely awful in week 1. And I typically don't like to go against a team that looks so bad again, but I think Washington will have their number. Dan Quinn is extremely familiar with this division, coming over as the defensive coordinator from the Dallas Cowboys. He's shown in the past when he came over from Atlanta how well he did against his former division. And oh, by the way, his partner Cliff Kingsbury has a spotless record against the NFC East division as well. He, of course, coached Kyler Murray up. Now he has a similar style quarterback in Jaden Daniels. I think the Commanders lay the 1.5 points and get the victory here over the Giants. We'll continue the conversation on the other side. Stick around. More of the Las Vegas Football Contest Show in just a moment.
Steiner's, a Nevada-style pub, invites you to play the best Keno and video poker in Las Vegas. Promos are how we roll, so make the most of your gaming dollars with ongoing promotions, daily free play, bonuses, and more. With a chance to win Knights, Raiders, Aviators tickets, and big money with all those jackpots. It's not only great gaming at Steiner's, it's the 24 awesome rotating draft beers and the best appetizers to match. Steiner's, the Nevada-style pub, with 3 locations across the Vegas Valley. Steiner's, I love this place.
Welcome back into the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Brady Kannon, Mike Pritchard, and James Salinas with you. Week 2 of the NFL season, coming off of a successful week 1 here on the program, hoping to keep that rolling. We roll on with the breakdown of the games that we're looking at this week. And Mike, I'll start with you. Where are you headed in round 2, if you will, here as we break down the rest of this card in week 2?
You know, fellas, I don't proclaim to be a handicapper at all, but I got pretty close with some of these numbers that we're competing against with this contest. And one that stood out to me, the matchup with the Titans at home against the Jets, back-to-back road games for the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. You think about the Jets, too, from a mentality or a mindset standpoint. They are so reliant upon Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers and being that Hall of Fame quarterback. It's going to take some time for that guy to knock off the rust and be the quarterback that they want him to be for that franchise. I mean, he's everything to what the Jets are about right now. Think about what the Jets scored defensively against San Francisco last week, and it just wasn't right. It just didn't feel right as you rely on Aaron Rodgers to rev up that offense. And as we know, we saw San Francisco take advantage of that. On the other side, you got the Titans. Home openers, home openers, there's so much energy, there's so much excitement about that. And we saw Willis mom spaghetti all over himself in that matchup as he's flipping the ball everywhere. And then the block punt, and then lo and behold, you got the Titans losing the game. I thought the Titans competed very, very well on the road. If they can clean up that, and I don't think that's a habit for Levis. I don't think that's a habit for him. He'll clean that up. They'll run the football. They got a decent offensive line. And I'm challenging the Jets to go on the road, back-to-back situations in a tough environment and see if Aaron Rodgers can bail them out. So I had this game as a tighter game, a field goal game. At home, we got the Titans catching 4 points. So when you're catching 4 points like that, and I think it's a field goal game, that's where I'm leaning, guys. I think the Titans get the job done in that regard.
Pritch, I'm with you on the Titans plus the 4. I like the 4. There's a number, and that's what's going to be as we go through the program today between both the Circa Millions and the Westgate SuperContest. There's a lot of different numbers out there and a lot of half a point shaded one way or the other, sometimes to our benefit, sometimes not, which will kind of shake itself out when we get to our final selections. But I think from one thing you mentioned as far as a habit, and you're thinking about Will Levis not being a habit. I think as sports bettors, and in particular with the NFL, since it's 1 week at a time, a week-to-week type of league, I don't want to get caught up, and I try not to get caught up because we would have had 4-1 last week because we had the Titans plus the 4 in the contest. And, yeah, Will Levis does something unfathomable, throwing the football away. What I don't want to do as a sports bettor is now just put that in my head. All right, I'm just done with Levis. Party's over. I can't bet him again. And sometimes even I'm just going to want to go fade him each time because I'm upset. You know what? That game's over. We've passed it. We're over it. We're moving forward. Now, if he does it again, yeah, that'll be a different story. But I agree. I like the Titans plus the 4. Thinking about, and again, I've talked about a lot of times where my first instinct is to look at the underdogs and play the number and see if the underdog I think is going to win the game outright. In this case here, I'm actually liking a favorite, and it's again betting against human achievement. And the human achievement that I really feel like I need to bet against is going to be Derek Carr and that New Orleans Saints offense having to go now travel on the road and actually play a real football team in the Dallas Cowboys. And say what you want about the Cowboys, but defensively that team is fast. We know their bookends with Lawrence and Parsons, and they're moving them around. New defensive coordinator Zimmer, he puts a lot of pressure fronts up there. It doesn't just show you a vanilla defense here and make you figure it out. He is going to bring pressure. He's going to show pressure. A lot of 8-man fronts at the line of scrimmage. Doesn't always bring it, but drops off. But makes the offensive line have to figure things out in real time and communicate. And I think that's where I think the biggest mismatch here is that Cowboys defensive line matching up with the New Orleans offensive line. It's already a makeshift offensive line as it is. And now you've got the rookie left tackle. Fuaga did not practice the last 2 days, so I don't think he's going to play. They're already having issues on that offensive line. Now you're going to have to plug in a new plug-and-play tackle at the left side. You already got issues with Penning on the right side and issues up the middle at the guard positions. I think it's a tall order for Derek Carr to have to replicate what he did last week, Brady, putting up 40-plus points against kind of the JV team in the NFL, that is the Carolina Panthers. They're going to go on the road and face a real football team on Sunday. I will lay the 6. That's one of my plays here that I'm going to advocate for, is the Dallas Cowboys -6 over the Saints.
Yeah, and a big difference there in the two contests. Circa Sports Million has Dallas at 6.5. The live market is currently Dallas by 6, and Dallas by 6 is exactly what we have in the SuperContest. And I'm with you. I've never really been a big fan of the combination of Dennis Allen and Derek Carr. Now, they look fantastic in week 1. We'll see how good they are in week 2. And I'm with you on that Cowboys defense. Zimmer looks like he's brought a new intensity and a quickness to that side of the ball. The Cowboys got off to a great start, obviously. And like you also mentioned, they've got some injuries on defense to the New Orleans Saints, and they'll face a real offense here with a lot of different weapons this week. And Dallas, for the last couple of seasons, has just been a horse at home. They are really good at home, not only winning outright, but also covering the spread. I will take a look here at the Minnesota Vikings. And, week 2 is always overreaction week. And we don't want to buy in too much to what we saw in week 1. And I don't want to buy too much into Sam Darnold being nearly perfect and the Vikings looking like this juggernaut in week 1. But I do think and I've thought this all along in the offseason, I think they're better than we are giving them credit for in the offseason, and that proved out to be true in their, big win over the New York Giants in week 1. But also, I don't want to overreact to a nearly flawless performance out of the San Francisco 49ers on Monday Night Football. That surprised the heck out of me. We were on the Jets, along with a lot of other people on the Jets, catching 4.5 last week in San Francisco, and I don't think the Jets were that bad. San Francisco was that good. They absolutely steamrolled that team. The time of possession discrepancy was incredible, and the Niners just really went to business and got it done over, I think, a pretty solid New York Jets team. But are they going to be able to repeat that, like I say, nearly flawless performance now on the road without McCaffrey again? Everybody saw the film on Jordan Mason. I don't think you're going to get that type of performance again. And I just think the points are too many here. We're getting a full 6 in the SuperContest, and we've seen the market come down to 5.5 and now 5. And I think this game is going to close 4 or 4.5. So I think a lot of value here on maybe a team that was a little bit underrated in the offseason in the Minnesota Vikings, and a team that's maybe being a bit overrated off of week 1's performance in the San Francisco 49ers. More when we come back on the other side. It's the Las Vegas Football Contest Show rolling on here in week 2 of the NFL season.
Want to enter the biggest and best football contests in Las Vegas, but don't know where to start? Look no further than footballcontest.com to get the info you need to succeed in the biggest football contests in the world. Circa Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate SuperContest. Reserve the most trusted proxy service in the business now at footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony have been leaders in the industry for 15 years. They submit your picks while you focus on picking winners. Experience matters. Go with the pros at footballcontest.com and start winning now.
San Diego is home to Wolfpack Hospitality Restaurants, located in beautiful La Jolla. Stop by Cove House, Shore Rider, and Dough Mama Pizzeria on your next trip. Visit Cove House, a top 100 brunch in California, or Shore Rider, serving up margaritas, fish tacos, and a vibe that will make you feel like a regular in no time. For a slice of New York-style pizza with a California twist, it's Dough Mama Pizzeria, where the wings and pizza draw compliments from around the world. Go to wolfpackhospitality.com, and we will look forward to seeing you at Cove House, Shore Rider, and Dough Mama Pizzeria.
Welcome back, everybody. It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Brady Kannon, James Salinas, and Mike Pritchard with you. The episodes drop right around 7 p.m. Pacific time every Friday night. For all your information, wherever you find your podcast, YouTube, wherever you want to pick up the show, you can go to a one-stop shop, our website, footballcontestshow.com. Again, footballcontestshow.com to pick up every episode week in and week out. All right, boys, we've got one more segment where we look at games against the spread, and then we will flip over to our analysis of Circa Survivor. But a couple more here before we finish up this portion of the program. And James, I will start with you. One more game, my friend, from the against the spread perspective.
Against the spread. So thinking about it from last week, I'm looking at Jacksonville versus Cleveland, and it's the Jaguars are favored by 3 in both the Super Contest and the Circa Millions. And having that short memory, now we did have Jacksonville in the contest last week plus the 3.5, but they didn't make that easy on us, fellas. I'm sure you guys were watching like I was. They had full control of that football game till Etienne coughed the ball up right at the goal line. That would have put them up 17 points there in the third quarter, and then had to scramble and trying to stay tight where they never saw the end zone again, and just a complete wreck. I think the coaching staff with Peterson making weird decision calls that go for it on fourth down and run around the edge in your own territory, all those kind of things. You know, again, as a bettor, put that behind you, out of sight, out of mind, moving forward. And in this game here, for me, it's more a bet of not so much a bet on Jacksonville, although they will be at home. We know it's going to be very hot. It's going to be very humid. The weather is not going to be favorable. It's supposed to rain throughout, so it's going to be typical Florida football in the month of September. And I think from this standpoint here, that's going to be an advantage for what Jacksonville wants to play. But I think the bigger advantage is the fact that, you know, the dysfunction that's going on right now in the quarterback position for Cleveland cannot be overstated here. It was a huge contract and a crazy deal that they did to get Watson in the first place. More allegations coming out on Watson. You know, that's weighing heavy on him beyond just the mental capacity. Physically right now, it's really entered into his mechanics or lack thereof. Really struggled last week against Dallas. And I know it's a hell of a front against Dallas with those bookend pass rushers that they have. But, you know, this offensive line is beat up too on both ends. So on the point of attack on both sides, both tackle positions are in question for Cleveland going into this game. But again, this is more of a bet for me and why I advocate for the Jacksonville Jaguars -3 at home, Pritch, in this segment, just thinking about where Cleveland is offensively and the struggles that they continue to have with Deshaun Watson under center.
Yeah, supposedly there's video too. That's never a good thing for Deshaun. I like that situation right there too, if you look at Jacksonville. Now, one situation I was looking at, guys, are the Cardinals for real? I mean, watching that game and analyzing it and studying it, Kyler Murray misses a wide open Marvin Harrison Jr. for a touchdown that kind of puts them right there to beat Buffalo on the road. We thought last week that back door would be open with our play with the Cardinals, but they busted down the front door and took it to Buffalo until Buffalo started to rev it up, certainly at home right there. But I'm not suggesting I think the Cardinals are for real. I think they're probably one of those middle-of-the-road teams with a chance to get better. Certainly Kyler Murray is an exciting player. This is a divisional game against the Rams, in which Kyler Murray has been called out previous years in terms of quitting, sitting on his butt, quitting, that kind of thing against the Rams. But there's no more Aaron Donald. There's no more Von Miller. There's no Super Bowl Rams. This is a Rams team where I think I was too early last year. I thought last year was going to be this year's version of the Rams, even though they had a good game against Detroit. But what I mean by that is they're lacking in depth. I mean, their backup quarterback is Stetson Bennett. For Pete's sake. So I just don't like the makeup of the Rams. Now they're injured already going into week 2. And I think home openers, again, favor the energy level there for the Cardinals. So I like this situation. It's laying 1 point for the Cardinals at home. I know the Cardinals defense is weak, but again, the Rams are depleted on both sides of the ball. And I just think that there's an opportunity right here for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Mike. And if you look at the scheduling spot for the Los Angeles Rams, too, that gets really difficult. And I thought they laid everything out there. That was an incredible effort. You know, they were losing players as the game went along to injury against the Detroit Lions, and still were in that game till the very end. Matthew Stafford gave it everything he had. So you come off of that very emotional effort. Now you go to a division game on the road. And then, by the way, next week you have to host the San Francisco 49ers. So I think this is a tough road to hoe for the Los Angeles Rams. And James, with you and the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm kind of on the same page that it's not so much a bet on Jacksonville. I liked what they did in week one, made a couple of mistakes in the end, didn't turn out their way as far as getting the win, worked out for us, getting 3 in the hook. But you know, we talked about Cincinnati earlier, that they could be a disaster. Cleveland could be a disaster as well. I don't know if Deshaun Watson is ever coming back to what we saw during his heyday with the Houston Texans early in his career. We switch over to Circa Survivor coming up next on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Want to gamble like the pros? At LasVegasAdvisor.com, you'll find the world's best how-to books, software, and strategy cards featuring blackjack, poker, video poker, and of course, sports betting, including the Stanford Wong Classic Sharp Sports Betting. Don't forget LVA's Member Rewards coupon book, offering discounts on dining and entertainment, including a buy one, get one for the awesome lobster buffet at the Palms, and more than $700 in gambling-free play, match play, and bonus offers. Up your gambling game today at LasVegasAdvisor.com.
Back here for the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. It is week 2 in the NFL. The first half of the program, we talked about a lot of games against the spread. Now we shift over to Survivor mode, where we are just trying to pick a winner of the game. For a lot of people, it didn't work out so well just trying to do that last week. Almost 5,000 people eliminated in Circa Survivor with a selection on the Cincinnati Bengals, us included. We have 3 entries in Circa Survivor. We took the Cincinnati Bengals with one of our entries. That, of course, has been eliminated. 2 of our entries are still alive. We were successful with the Seattle Seahawks beating the Denver Broncos and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beating the Washington Commanders. Now it is on to week 2. And Mike, I'll start with you. I know Circa Survivor fascinates you. You and I have done many shows over the years, and this is really one that gets your heart pumping, Circa Survivor, and those 14.2 million reasons for that. So what do we do here in week 2? There's actually some more big favorites on the board than there was in week 1. And I'll begin with the Detroit Lions, who looked so impressive on Sunday night in their victory over the Rams. They will have a rematch here with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, once again at home, and they're a pretty solid 7 to 7.5 point favorite.
Right. I mean, do we get nuts? I know that the Lions play on Thanksgiving, and certainly you have to manage the schedule. You got to map it out, and certainly you would like to hold on to the Lions all the way through to Thanksgiving. But we got to get there, though, right? And then we also have to manage 2 entries as well. It's a lot different in my experience managing just one. I would avoid this game if I just had 1 entry. But, you know, you're looking at the Lions and what they were able to do last week against the Rams, I thought was impressive. You know, I've been looking for them to be consistent. And I think not only are they consistent, they found another element offensively, and that's Jameson Williams. I mean, this guy is so electric. And if he can stay on the field, no more gambling, nothing like that, right? Let's stay on the field. He has another dimension to this offense. And I think Ben Johnson, the offense coordinator, can exploit that. Along with the sound running game, they are fast. It's one of the faster teams in the National Football League. And now they're going up against Tampa Bay. And I think that division underachieves a lot. Now, Baker Mayfield is playing better football. He has a Hall of Fame wide receiver in Mike Evans, I believe. But then defensively, I don't know if they match up that well against the Lions. That's why you see this big number. And you want to look at home favorite. The only question mark, fellas, when we're managing 2 entries right now, do we use up one knowing that, use up a holiday one, like knowing that the Lions could be there on Thanksgiving? But then again, we got to get there. Look at the rate of elimination already. after week 1. And that's the fascination with Survivor. The rate of elimination is so high right now. I mean, we're down to 8,700 entries. And that's crazy to think about. So not only managing and mapping out the entire season, but understanding the rate of elimination, we might be compelled to play one of those holiday teams early on.
Thinking about the holiday, Pritch, for that matchup with Detroit, I think the one thing that concerns me with Detroit, not only keeping them in pocket for Thanksgiving, but they're playing a Tampa team that they swept last year. They beat them down in Tampa early in the season. Tampa didn't do anything. I remember having that guy. I think I was on Tampa plus a short number, whatever it was. Really frustrating watching that game. No offense whatsoever. Detroit just absolutely dominated them defensively. And then the playoffs got off to a big lead, and potential there was a backdoor cover. I think they had to go for 2, didn't get it. But anytime you've played a team and it's a non-divisional team and you beat them twice, I don't know, sometimes there might be a psychological kind of letdown, especially after the physicality and the intensity that was in that game last week against the Rams that they won in overtime on Sunday night. So thinking, all right, well, what did we see last week? And is there a team just defined that we should just be an auto fade going forward each and every week? And do the Panthers qualify? Do they qualify for that? I think they absolutely do when it comes to, is that a team that we're looking to play during the season? Absolutely not. But could that be a team that we look to just, who are they playing this week and go against them? However, in this case, that's my concern is you're never as bad as what you look like in 1 week, and you're never quite as good. Now, the Panthers have nowhere to go but up. I don't know if it's possible for them to go up based on their performance last year and what carried over from last season into week 1 against the New Orleans Saints. But I think for the Chargers, a whole new mindset with Harbaugh coming in. We know what they want to be, creating the identity of being physical at the line of scrimmage. They have a terrific offensive line. I know Joel absolutely shut down Crosby and that pass rush from the Raiders last week. But now you're going to go on the road, you're going to travel, and you're a significant favorite going in to play the Panthers. But I think from the Chargers' perspective, just was really limited offensively. I know they ended up winning the game going away against the Raiders, but that was kind of an ugly game. There wasn't a whole lot of human achievement going on either side offensively for that game. And it just eventually the Raiders were going to find a way to blow it, and they sure did. But I'm not sure here, thinking about that from the standpoint of finding a team and just picking on them week in and week out. Brady, is this the spot where it's whoever the opponent is? In this case here, it's the Chargers having to go on the road, and we're selecting a team having to play on the road, especially early in the season. We're only into week 2. Are we going to get into that mindset where we just start picking on teams? Because to me, I think Carolina is definitely a team that a lot of entries are going to start to pick on.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily disagree. What I'm opposed to, though, is what you mentioned. It's week 2. Do we really want to rely on a road favorite? And a road favorite that I wasn't all that impressed with in week 1. Certainly they won by margin over the Las Vegas Raiders, but it didn't look all that pretty with what the Los Angeles Chargers did. We expect the Carolina Panthers, like you said, they should be better. They shouldn't be that bad week in and week out. Maybe they are. It's still unknown. It is only week 2. We've got a lot of big favorites on the board this week, guys. You could go all the way to Monday night with the Philadelphia Eagles, a 6.5-point favorite at home over the Atlanta Falcons. You've got the Houston Texans on Sunday night laying 6.5 to the Chicago Bears. The San Francisco 49ers, a 5-point road favorite over the Minnesota Vikings. And then you've also got the Kansas City Chiefs, kind of a mini bye week, and they will be hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. And then, of course, the biggest favorite on the board, and we've seen some movement here the other direction, the Baltimore Ravens. They're at home, their home opener after traveling to Arrowhead in week 1, extra rest for the Baltimore Ravens here. They're hosting the Las Vegas Raiders, who start off with a loss on the road, their second straight road game for the Las Vegas Raiders. And it's similar to what we saw in week 1, where the Cincinnati Bengals, over the summer were, I want to say, as high as a 9.5-point favorite. The Ravens have been as high as a 10-point favorite, but the money has come in on the Raiders with the points. They're down to an 8 or 8.5-point favorite in the market are the Ravens. And we saw that exact same pattern with the Cincinnati Bengals last week. They, like I say, 9.5-point favorite. Then you have T. Higgins, the injury. Then you have Jamar Chase still not being able to get a contract done. And pretty soon they were 7 or 7.5-point favorites, and you know what happened. So I think that has to be worrisome as well for people that are thinking about landing on the Ravens this week. The money against the number has come in on the Raiders. Does that worry you at all like it did? I mean, we were on the Bengals last week and it burned us, Pritch. Do you worry a little bit about maybe some of the wise guys playing the Raiders here thinking 9 or 10 points is too many?
Yeah, there's always something to worry about, right? But I think in this case, the Ravens are sky high, even though they lost. I think in their mind, they won that game, right? And if they're going to face Kansas City again, they can't lose to the Raiders. This is all about the Ravens and that outfit and who they are. I did get a chance to see the Ravens a few years ago out here in Vegas at Allegiant Stadium against the Raiders. Now, a different team, but the speed on the field is real. It's incredible. I think they're going to open up that offense a little bit more too. But that defense is going to be a tough matchup for the Raiders, if you ask me.
All right, when we come back, we will continue the Circa Survivor conversation. And James, it was you that suggested, we were putting this show together and we were going to have one entry in each contest. I'm so glad that you suggested we up to 3 entries in Circa Survivor. We are still alive as we continue here in week 2 with a couple of live tickets there, looking at the $14.2 million prize. 8,702 entries still alive in Circa Survivor. We continue the Survivor conversation on the other side. Keep it here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Looking for your next ultimate golf experience? Discover Bali High Golf Club, a tropical paradise on the Las Vegas Strip, featuring lush greenery, water features, Balinese tropical plants, white sand, and black volcanic rock, creating an enchanting atmosphere. Bali High creates a memorable golf experience for a typical foursome, a group celebrating a bachelor or bachelorette party, or your next corporate outing. It's award-winning golf on the Strip, Vegas style. Book your ultimate golf experience now at BaliHighGolfClub.com.
Okay, guys, Circa Survivor is the topic here for the second half of the program. We went over the Ravens and their matchup at home with the Las Vegas Raiders. We talked about the Lions hosting the Bucks. I want to look at some of the other games. There's a lot to choose from. I think we're going to have quite a sprinkling of a lot of different teams here selected in week 2 in Circa Survivor because, you think about what we had on the board last week. As far as big favorites, maybe there was 3 at the most. There's half a dozen here this week here in week 2. And a few other of those big favorites are, you have the road favorite we talked about with the Los Angeles Chargers, another road favorite of decent size. The San Francisco 49ers laying 5 points has been as high as a 6-point favorite. By the way, we'll see if that line moves some more. It has been confirmed Christian McCaffrey is downgraded to out. He will not play in this game, and apparently some speculation that he might be put on injured reserve as well. We'll see how that story develops there, but he will not play against the Minnesota Vikings. San Francisco favored by 5 on the road. You've got the Kansas City Chiefs favored by 5.5 or 6, even 6.5 at home against the Bengals. You have the Houston Texans coming off of a narrow victory over a division rival in the Indianapolis Colts. They are a 6.5-point favorite over the Chicago Bears, and then also a 6.5-point favorite on Monday night as the Philadelphia Eagles play their home opener at the Link against the Atlanta Falcons. James, what about some of these other favorites? Are you entertaining going against or on any of these games?
Regardless of the news about McCaffrey, San Francisco is not going to be on the board for me. Actually, we like them plus the 6, so I don't want to try to find that short middle where we're hoping the Survivor team wins, but they don't cover. So I think for San Francisco, kind of load management going on in the NFL, and probably not a bad thing for McCaffrey to take some time off and keep his legs fresh when he does come back off of IR later in the season to make that stretch run in the playoffs. But I think, again, working backwards. So you mentioned the Chiefs. Big game. It's going to be a big game. We know it's been over the last few years. It's turned into really a good rivalry in the AFC when it comes to the Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals. But, the Chiefs, we got to keep in pocket, I think. They play both the Thanksgiving week and the Christmas week. And I was really looking at them for Christmas. We talk about there's only 3 games that you can use for Christmas, and I really like the advantage that Kansas City is going to have coming into the Christmas Day game. If you just look at what Pittsburgh, that's going to be their opponent. Now, yes, they'll be on the road on Christmas Day, but what Pittsburgh's going to have to face prior to facing Kansas City is an absolute gauntlet, where you're talking about playing Baltimore, at Cleveland, at Cincinnati, home to Cleveland, at Philadelphia, at Baltimore, and then you get to host Kansas City. Merry Christmas. I think that's a really tough stretch. So Kansas City for me is not even in consideration, Pritch. So I think from that standpoint, keeping those ones in pocket. What about the Texans? Now, I know the Texans also play on Christmas, but the Texans playing against the rookie and all the hype that was rolling in for the Chicago Bears, didn't come anywhere close to living up to the hype, even though they won it offensively. Right. The complete no-show from the Bears last Sunday. Yeah,
well coached too. I mean, D'Amico Ryans, what he's doing, and the buy-in too, where Stephon Diggs is a captain on that team, and he's been kicked out a couple of locker rooms for being selfish, right? But this guy's a captain now, so there's something special going on down there in Houston. What's interesting is Christmas, though. Houston, and I think it's Baltimore, right? Houston versus Baltimore, and Baltimore. I don't know what they're going to be at that time. I don't know what the number is going to be at that time, but that's intriguing. When you're looking at Houston. And then you're also looking at Baltimore as a big favorite now too. So we're extrapolating all the way out to Christmas already, which that's why this Survivor contest is so fascinating, right? And we got to count on injuries. It's 100% injury business, and how much our team's going to be different when you get to the Christmas week and certainly Thanksgiving on top of that too. So. I am so worried about rate of elimination that compels me to kind of maneuver these 2 picks that we have and be selective about them, but then also just increase our chances of getting to the option to participate in Thanksgiving and certainly participate in Christmas as well.
Guys, I have it right in front of me here, and it'll stick up there for a long time. The Thanksgiving and the Christmas games. For Thanksgiving, you've got the Bears at the Lions, the Giants at the Cowboys, the Dolphins at the Packers. That could be very interesting with now an injury to Tua and the injury to Jordan Love, and then the Raiders at the Chiefs. And then Christmas, you've got the Chiefs at the Steelers. You mentioned the Ravens at the Texans and the Seahawks at the Bears. We would be remiss if we didn't mention the Dallas Cowboys. That's another big favorite I forgot about. James, you talked early in the first part of the program about the Cowboys being a team you like against the spread this week against the New Orleans Saints. I don't necessarily know if I want to use them as a survivor play, because that Thanksgiving week against the Giants, with what we've seen so far, I mean, the Cowboys over the summer were a 9-point favorite in that game. We'll see what they are come Thanksgiving, but that's a team I'd like to have in pocket for that particular holiday.
And I feel like we want to really keep the home teams as much as possible in pocket. So not only for Dallas now, no brainer. If we get to Dallas and the Giants are a complete dysfunctional mess, they're already a dysfunctional mess right now. I don't see how that's going to get any better over the course of the next 2 months. With Dallas playing at the level that they will be. I think that one's in pocket, but also with Green Bay, keeping them in pocket. They'll be hosting a Miami team, and we've seen what it's going to look. What does it look like in Green Bay? Pritch, you said you played there. What does it look like in Green Bay at the end? We're talking Thanksgiving, and it's at the end of November. We saw what happened last year, and hopefully, fingers crossed for Tua and his sake that he's healthy and is able to play in that game. But we saw the cold weather and how it affected Miami and that offense last year in the playoffs at Kansas City. It probably comparable to what it could look like on Thanksgiving night in Green Bay.
Yeah, no, I mean, Tua should shut it down. I mean, you get a concussion that easily like that, you're basically bruising your brain. I mean, he got a concussion from whiplash before too. So just the force of any type of hit can be very detrimental to Tua right now. I think he's going to probably retire, to be honest with you. His family might talk him into that.
Wow. Big statement right there. We will see. The Green Bay Packers are absolutely a team that I have shoved into my pocket for the Thanksgiving holiday because of exactly what you were talking about, James. A warm weather team in the Miami Dolphins going to Lambeau Field on November 28th, I think is the exact date, late into the winter season there up at Lambeau Field. Again, a warm weather team and the Dolphins going there. I had my eye on that one for sure. The final segment, when we come back, we will go over all of our selections for Circa Sports Million, the Westgate Super Contest, and Circa Survivor. And don't forget our Dom DeMarco's Pizza Prop Play of the Week.
When the football contest crew isn't busy dominating the field and making plays that leave opponents in the dust, they're doing something just as exciting. They're playing My Vegas Slots. It's a top-ranked, free-to-play mobile app that lets you earn valuable real-world rewards from amazing partners like MGM Grand, Bellagio, and Norwegian Cruise Line. You can score hotel stays, great meals, show tickets, and more just for playing. Download My Vegas Slots today from your favorite app store. And if you're anything like Brady, James, and Mike, we know you're going to love it. That's a winning play you won't want to miss.
It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Brady Kannon, James Salinas, and Mike Pritchard with you for the final segment where we give out all of our picks for this week's contest. We will start with the Westgate Super Contest. 5 selections against the spread. We are on the Minnesota Vikings plus the 6 points at home, taking on the San Francisco 49ers. The Houston Texans minus 6 points at home against the Chicago Bears. The Kansas City Chiefs minus 5.5 at home against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Green Bay Packers plus 3 points at home against the Indianapolis Colts, and the Dallas Cowboys laying 6 points to the New Orleans Saints. For the Circa Sports Million Contest, a different bag of picks here. We start with the Chiefs. That is the one similar pick here. The Chiefs minus 5.5 at home. Then we go to the Washington Commanders minus 1.5 over the New York Giants. The Arizona Cardinals minus 1 over the Los Angeles Rams. The Tennessee Titans getting 4 points, hosting the New York Jets. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars at home laying 3 points to the Cleveland Browns. And then Circa Survivor. We are all in with both entries on the Baltimore Ravens to beat the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll see how that goes. We could be done with Circa Survivor after just 2 weeks, boys. And then finally, without further ado, the all-important Dom DeMarco's Pizza Money Prop Play of the Week. We won last week with Kirk Cousins staying under his passing yards total. We're going to go that same direction this week. Geno Smith, passing yards of 224.5 yards. We're going under that as well. James, you and I were talking when we put this card together today. I really like the variety between the Super Contest and the Circa Sports Million. We've got a lot of different games we've selected.
Part of it, Brady, is because we all had a number of different plays that we wanted to advocate for, but also a lot of this was really dictated because of the point spreads, and whether it be a half point or a full point. We have the Vikings in the Super Contest plus the 6, but we did not take them in the millions. They're only getting 5. I think the biggest one is going to be, we talk about it all the time, getting that 3 at home. We did not play the Packers in the Circa Millions. They are only getting 2.5 as opposed to what we're getting in the Super Contest where we're getting plus 3. So with all of these games, majority of them are a half point here or a half point there. And you know, you might think, well, it's only a half a point, but we're talking about some key numbers. And we're talking about 6 or 6.5, definitely 3 versus 2.5. But how many times have we played a game, whether it's in the contest, fellas, or Pritch, and you just bet a game and you didn't get the best of it? And I think that's what we're trying to avoid. Doesn't mean we're always going to get the best of the number, but we don't want to get the worst of it, I think. And I know for me, I've lost plenty of games by a half a point when the half a point was there. If I would have been either more patient and waited for it to happen or hit the game earlier in the week. So for Pritch, that's where I stand with this. I feel like we're not getting the worst of it, not always getting the best, but definitely not getting the worst of it here.
Yeah, that hook can be your friend sometimes too, depending on the side of it. Right, and certainly we've all been there, losing games on the other side. I want to say this about the National Football League: the bulk of the teams are, 8 and 9 or 9 and 8 teams, right? And a lot of times, look at the numbers right now. A lot of times they're so tight, and even as I'm not a handicapper, but the fact that my numbers were so close to what the contest revealed, the Super Contest, and what Circa Millions revealed as well, that fascinates me. So I think I'm on the right track in terms of understanding the league and understanding these teams and what separates teams. Like Kansas City, Baltimore, you can throw in Buffalo, you can throw in Detroit maybe. Those teams out the gate asserted themselves, right? Everybody else looking for answers. A lot of question marks in the locker rooms right now throughout the National Football League.
Well, Pritch, let's hope the Baltimore Ravens stand out as a team asserting themselves, right?
Yeah.
We're all in on Baltimore,
absolutely.
my friend.
Sure. Even in the loss, I think they asserted themselves, though.
Well, I believe, if you just look at coaches and quarterbacks, you've got Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh against Gardner Minshew and Antonio Pierce. The Raiders have been on the road for 2 straight weeks. The Baltimore Ravens return home. They have extra rest. I'm not just going down that road because they're the biggest favorite on the board, James, but I actually had the Ravens mapped out. Week 1, we went a little bit off schedule. We lost a game. We readjust. But I had the Ravens on 2 of my cards in my original mapping of Circa Survivor earlier this season.
Yeah, and for me, I'm not so concerned about keeping them in pocket for a road game in Texas, which would be for the Texans and for Houston a revenge game from last year's playoff game. But I think here, I'm with you. We're all in, boys. Let's push the chips in the middle. Let's go Ravens. Just got to win. Don't have to cover. Just got to win.
All right, boys, just win, baby, like they say. That is going to do it for this episode of the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Don't you just love football? God, what a fun sport.
Subscribe today on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts to receive weekly alerts as soon as the show's available. Good luck with your contest selections.
Pay that man his money.
And we'll talk to you next week.